Huh? Huh?
Get back on YouTube.
Can you hear me? You still not hearing? Can you guys hear me? Is there any volume?
Yes.
You can hear me now? Can you guys hear me? Just let me know if you can hear me. I had to end the live and restart the live. Okay, I can hear myself. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Just let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. I did not realize that no sound. Somebody's still saying no sound. Can you hear me, Nathan? Can you hear me? Yes, we can. Somebody said yes, we can. Okay. All right. That's crazy that that happened the way it happened, but amen. We still give God praise and thanks. There I was ministering in the middle of my message, and there was just no sound for like 30 something minutes, 20 something minutes. I don't even know. But just to recap, I'm not gonna start back from the beginning, but I'm gonna just recap. Um, I'm just gonna recap for you guys that because I realized that you weren't hearing me. My topic is the God that sustains, the God that sustains, and tonight I'm looking at, we're looking collectively, we're looking at the story of Elijah in First Kings chapter 19. First Kings chapter 19. We're looking at the story in First Kings chapter 19. And I'm just gonna give you the details of what I was discussing before I got to the point where I realized that no one was hearing me. Right? We were talking about the man Elijah and okay, the man Elijah and the way his life um was as it relates and the way God sustained him with all that he was going through. And I'm gonna give you the history that I just gave. Um, but first, let's just go to the story that I was reading. So I said that sustain. I give a definition of sustain, and to sustain it means to strengthen, to support, to maintain or keep going, to provide what is needed for endurance and continued life. I said this is the meaning of sustain. And then I started talking about Elijah, and then we started discussing First Kings chapter 19, and I'm going to read the portion of scripture that I read that our study is based on tonight. First Kings chapter 19 from verse 1, it said, "And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and with how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. And then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough now, O Lord. Take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, an angel touched him and said unto him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baking on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. And he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of God. So we were looking at the life of Elijah, and I was discussing with you the way that God has sustained Elijah. But before we got to see God's sustaining power in Elijah, if you read the chapter before, chapter 18, we would have seen Elijah being in a place where he was demonstrating the power of God, where he was demonstrating the effects of the consuming fire, which is God that we serve, where he was standing full of pride, not earthly pride, but confidence in that sense, full of confidence of who his God is. And he was not ashamed and not afraid to showcase the God that he carries. So in chapter 18, just a little backstory, just a little history. In chapter 18, he openly challenged the prophets of Baal, and he boasted and mocked them. He made them a laughing stock, so to speak, when he said unto them, Is your God asleep? You're calling upon him, and he's not showing up for you. And then he began to call upon his God, which is the resurrected Christ. He began to call upon his God to showcase the power that his God carried. And we see a demonstration of events that you only see in movies unless you're a Christian, and unless you've experienced God, you can only capture the demonstration of this power of God has likened unto a movie. We saw fire coming from heaven and consuming the sacrifice on the altar that he had instructed them to prepare, and then he had told them to douse it with water. He told them, throw water. Throw water again. Multiple times we saw fire consuming the sacrifice on that altar, and we saw Elijah standing and boasting and mocking the prophets of Baal, because he understood at that point, he understood who he was, he understood who he served, and he understood what he carried. But now we see a flip side of Elijah's life. We see a flip side, and I also said to you that Ahab and Jezebel were the rulers of that land at that time, and Jezebel was a wicked queen. She was the one that introduced uh, a constitution, so to speak, that allows or that mandates idolatry worship in the land. So we see Elijah now in chapter 9, after showcasing the power of God so mightily in chapter 8. We see him now in chapter 9 being fearful, running for his life, being in a place where he's come to a point of such weakness that he's saying, God, just take my life from me. This is the same person that was showcasing the power of God, that was showing them what God is capable of. Now he's saying, just take my life from me. He's displaying such weakness that you couldn't believe that this is the same person. The weakness that you've never seen before in his life being showcased now in chapter 19, where he just went and he's just like, I'm just tired. He said, it is enough for me, O Lord. Just take my life. But it is at that point we begin to see the sustaining power of God in Elijah's life. We see God sustain. We see first what we did, what was not highlighted or what didn't happen. We never saw God rebuking him at this point of his weakness, where he was like, oh, I've had enough. And his words were words that were stemmed from fear, because he was fearful until he received the message from Jezebel requesting his head. It is at that point we see fear that caused him to speak the words that he spoke. But we never see God rebuking him and saying, oh, I've not given you a spirit of fear. But what we saw was God sustaining him. At the point when he was just ready to roll over and die, we saw angels feeding him, bringing food to him. And so God not only sustained him in that weak area, but God also sustained him physically and emotionally. Now, when we talk about angels bringing food, we saw the children of Israel being fed with manna in the wilderness. There are very few areas or very few points in scriptures that we can see angels feeding or angels bringing food or food raining down from heaven to sustain people or children of God. But here we were seeing it in Elijah's life. At his point of giving up, we saw God stepping in to say, I've got you. I am able to sustain you. Then the angel came again. The Bible said in verse 8, no, in verse 7, it said, and the angel of the Lord came again the second time and touched him and said, arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. So not only did Elijah thought to himself that this journey is a great journey, this is a lot to carry and a lot to bear, this is a lot that I'm going through, but the angel of the Lord also confirmed that this journey that you're going through is not easy. We see Elijah, this mighty man of God that appeared from nowhere and that was raptured up on chariots on horses and chariots on fire. We see this man having a weak point in his walk, in his ministry, in living and manifesting the will of God. And we see the power of God, the sustaining power of God being present even though he was not aware of it. Even though he did not acknowledge it at first, even though he was like, how am I serving a God that I am showing up and he's using me, but the next day I'm to my wits end, and I neglect to remember that the same power of that God. And so in life, in our life, in our walk with God, there are many instances where we are used by God to showcase the power of God, as Elijah was used by God. But when it comes to our own self, we fail to acknowledge, we fail to receiving. When it comes to receiving, um a lot of people get carried away with the wrong ideology when it comes to receiving. Receiving it's not automatic. Receiving is the process of offering and accepting. To receive something, it must be offered to you and you must accept it. You don't just sit and say, oh, I've received a car from the auto dealers, and then boops, the car is in your driveway. No, there's a transaction that has to happen that a lot of us bypass, or we never pay enough attention to. And we think that we receive something, but we haven't accepted it. Even though it's a gift, it has to be accepted. You can't say you receive without accepting. So you have a lot of believers that think they receive salvation, but they have never accepted the finished work of Christ. They have never accepted that he is indeed the Christ that was resurrected, the Christ that died, buried, and resurrected. There are a lot of believers that are walking around thinking that I've received salvation, but I haven't accepted what was done on Calvary. There's no way I've received it. Anyway, back to the sustaining power of God. So we see Elijah now at his wit's end, and we see God saying, we see the angel saying, arise, arise, for the journey ahead is great. It's too great for thee. But what I want us to pull out from this is the next verse that I've read it countless amount of time, and I have thought about it, and I've wrapped my mind around it. But it said, and he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights. He went in the strength of that meat. The angel that fed him 2 times was enough to sustain him for 40 days and 40 nights. You must understand that even though the sustaining power of God is available for you, even though this many times the sustaining power of God is working through you, you must understand that unless you can connect to what God is offering, it is impossible for you to receive what is being offered. You can say, oh, Father, I'm going through this, and I'm going through that. And God is right there saying, oh, this journey is too great for you. I have provided an escape this way. I have provided this for you. There is comfort for you. There is stability for you. You can show up and you can say, oh, Father, it's too much. But unless you tell yourself, or unless you come to the place to understand that this is a process that I have to give to God and see him work, I'm never going to be fully delivered from the place of struggle that I'm in. So we see God saying to Elijah, get up, eat. We see the angel coming again saying to Elijah, get up, eat. Because where you are going, you need sustenance. Many times we are in the midst of a situation and we do not understand. Like I always say, when you're in the midst of something and you have surrendered all and you've given all, sometimes God is just there to demonstrate his sustaining power. He's not there to take you out of that situation. The beauty of being in situations is a process that causes you to build character. It causes you to build endurance. It causes you to build capacity. The moment you can be in a situation and understand that God is right there with you, equipping you with all the things that are necessary, it is at that moment that your relationship with God goes to another level. If we look at the story with the Hebrew boys, the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were thrown in the fire, but we never see God taking them out of that fire. But we see the king looking and seeing a fourth man in the fire. But we never see God saying, oh, I'm the powerful, most mighty God. Let's just break down the doors and take you guys out. No, because in that situation, when you begin to accept and appreciate the sustaining power of God, it builds you into a person that is able to withstand your next season. So we're always looking for a breakthrough without understanding that God is adding to us sustaining power. He is strengthening you. He is bringing you into a closer relationship with you. He is teaching you to depend upon him. So instead of looking at the situation and saying, oh, I've given up, which Elijah did, he looked at the situation. He was like, oh, Father, just take my life. But he never stayed at that weak point. He never remained at that place of weakness. He said that, he laid down because he was prepared for God to take his life. But God said, no, it's not time for me to take your life. I'm not taking your life to take you away from this scene. There is a journey ahead of you that you're being equipped for. I'm not taking your life so that you can't experience me in this season. I'm not taking the stress away. I am equipping you with my sustaining power. I am feeding you. I am nourishing you. I am building you up. I'm giving you endurance because what? This journey, like my son always say, when I spoke with him, he said, Mom, we were trained to understand that whatever we're in right now, the worst is always yet to come. So the training that we have is, this is the easiest training that we're going through. The next one will be worse. And this is what God does. He was there and he was saying, I'm not taking you away from this. If I take you away from this, how are you going to be strengthened, Nathan? If I take you away from this, how are you going to be strengthened enough to deal with the next step? How are you going to have the assurance that you need to say, I can walk through this fire because God is walking with me? How are you going to have a testimony to overcome the enemy in the next season if you decide, I can't take this season right now, I just want to get out of it? It is too much, it is too heavy. Listen, I can't. Many of you that are even looking at me right now, many of you have been in situations where God has sustained you, where God has kept you, where God has built you up, and you fail to realize that it is the sustaining power of God that is keeping you. You've been in situations where you should have quit long ago. You should have left long ago. You should have given up long ago. But the sustaining power of God is still there. still available, still working for you. It is time you stop saying, Father, take me out of this situation. Lord, remove this baggage from me. Lord, remove this job. Lord, remove this business. Remove this relationship. And start saying, Father, I thank you that you are sustaining me in this for my next season, that you're preparing me for greater. Father, I thank you that all things are working together for my good. I may not look like my best self today, but you're building me up to be a better person tomorrow. Unless you begin to embrace the availability of the power of God, the Spirit of God, that is working in your life, unless you begin to embrace the availability, unless you begin to appreciate what God is doing for your life, you will never see yourself victorious. You will never be able to stand in the day of when all hell is breaking loose, when it becomes chaotic, because you've never appreciated what God has done for you at no point. So I want to encourage you. My behind the scenes person is MIA. But I want to encourage you tonight, because I want you to go back through this story for yourself, because we see not only did Elijah receive that sustaining power of God, not only was he fed, was he given, was provision readily available for him, but the Bible said this is the verse that stuck with me. It said, and he went on in the strength of that meat. Imagine being fed by God for 2 days and tarrying on for 40 days and 40 nights. Just 2 meals. Just 2 meals he had. And it was enough to take him through for 40 days and 40 nights. So I want to encourage you tonight, in whatever you're going through. You might be saying, oh, this is too hard, this is too much of a challenge. You might have been like Elijah, where yesterday I could demonstrate the power of God. Yesterday I could heal the sick and I could lay hands on the blind. Yesterday I could prophesy to 5,000. But today I'm the person, I'm at my wit's end. And today the enemy is whispering in my ears, you've done enough. It is time for you to just relax and walk away. I want to encourage you to remember Elijah. If Elijah was such a mighty man of God, was used so mightily by God, was used to demonstrate God's power in such a grand way, Elijah, that never saw death but was raptured away, had a moment of weakness, then there is nothing wrong with you having a moment of weakness. There's nothing wrong with you saying, I'm at my wit's end. But in that moment of weakness, you must understand who you are. You must allow God to fortify you. You must stay grounded in the Word. You must stay grounded in the Word and allow the Word to build you up for your next season. Many times when we are at the point of reaching the finish line to acquire victory, it is at that point there is a very thin space. Let me give you guys a testimony. My husband is on this Zoom, please, on this live. Please do not laugh at me. So for some time now, I've been, years before now, leading up to now, I've always been every year I'm always working on a weight loss strategy, on a healthy living strategy. And I would start very well. amazing. All my goals are on top of my head. The big picture is there. I'm ready. I'm prepared. And I start. But every time I'm close to the end of one season to say, oh, I've done 6 weeks of this or 4 weeks, some kind of food always sneaks up. Always sneaks up to say, oh, I'm food. I look good, I taste good, and I'm amazing. Have me. And I'm always like, oh my, so I gotta start over. And sometimes, and this has happened so many times that at times I just give up. I'm like, I'm just gonna eat what I wanna eat. I'm gonna just do what I wanna do, and I'm just gonna. I've given up many times before, but it is the sustaining power of God that is keeping me, that is keeping me going. So you must allow God to work through you. There is no way for you to testify of the goodness of God. It is different when you can experience God move in your life. To say, I've seen God move, I've experienced Him, than when you're looking at another person and say, I've seen God move in that person's life. It is a different feeling. It is a different experience. You can look at a store and say, oh, I've seen this store many times and I've passed by it. I've passed by this Target many times and I've seen it. But unless you go in that store, you will not know what it feels like to walk through the aisles of that store and see the items that they have. You can speak to another person and say, oh, I've seen that store, you've been there? Yeah, they have nice stuff. But unless you go into that store and see what is in that store, you cannot say I've experienced going to that store. You cannot say I've experienced God through Paul's life or through Peter's life. You cannot say, oh, I've experienced the sustaining power of God through the life of Elijah. You must experience God for yourself. You must allow God to manifest Himself through you, where you can say, I've been through some stuff, but all things work together for the glory of God. Unless you've been through, unless you have walked the walk that it took to carry you from point A to point B so that you can see point C, unless you have walked and seen God move in your life, there is no way that you can say, oh, I've experienced God, I've overcome, I'm an overcomer, and God has sustained me. There is no way. So I want to encourage you tonight, in all that you do, in any situation that you're in, before you pray for a breakthrough, Father, I want a breakthrough in my circumstance. Say, Father, I thank you that I can see a sustaining power in this situation that is making me stronger, that is adding wisdom to my life, that is taking me from one level to the other. Lord, that is teaching me to depend upon you. That is teaching me that your protection is sure, that your protection is real. Lord, in this situation, God, let your glory arise from this situation. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for being here tonight. I want to thank you for showing up. I want to thank you for lending me your ear so that I can remind you of who God is. And I pray that that in your situations, wherever it is that you are, whatever it is that you're going through, however it is that you feel, I pray that you're able to see who God is to you in every situation. If you're in Guyana, gentle reminder, if you're in Guyana, Sunday, There is service at the Tutorial High School, 10 a.m. sharp. Um, Let me just also tell you guys that the Grace Foundation is currently raising funds, or they're currently having a fundraiser for, um, I think they're trying to buy kites and snacks for kids. I'm not sure, but they're having a fundraiser currently for the Easter to supply kids with kites and other goodies. If you're interested in donating and being a part of that, and being a blessing to a child somewhere, just reach out to us. Let us know. We can take your details. We can let you know how you can be a blessing. We have our WhatsApp groups that are available if you're interested in being part of a community that prays, that receives the word, that seeks God. Inbox the page, let us know. We'll add you to that group. What else? What else? What else? We're on all social media platforms. Follow the page, subscribe, turn your notification on. Sometimes you see us on Facebook, sometimes you see us on YouTube. Connect on all platforms so you don't miss the information that is being released. God richly bless you. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys, God's willing. I'll be still and I'll follow you.